Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's National Disability Institute Assistive Technology Loan Program Orientation. And today we have two speakers. The first from the trade program here in New York State, and we have Solid Rock Inc. Speaking about their services as well. And let's get started here. And thank you for joining us today. My name is Laurie Schaller. I'm the Manager of Financial Empowerment here at National Disability Institute. And following this presentation, any questions you have, please reach out to me. My number is 202-449-9521. In today's presentation, as you have questions that come up, please put those in the question and answer box. And if you have any difficulties logging in, you can email me. This presentation is being recorded and will be posted at the National Disability Institute Assistive Technology Loan website. So we welcome everyone to share this, for example, with your customers. If you are listening by phone and not logged into the webinar, you may also ask questions by emailing me. That is lschallery@ndi-inc.org. So here at National Disability Institute, we envision a society in which people with disabilities have the same opportunities to achieve financial stability and independence as people who do not have disabilities. We collaborate and innovate to build a better financial future for people with disabilities and their families. We have new resources related to COVID, questions and concerns that people with disabilities likely have, and information and resources are posted there, including access to free financial education and financial coaching services. And we also have LifeSense, which is a free financial education tool posted at that website as well. So we invite you to visit that. So in terms of the NDI, Assistive Technology AT Loan Program, we received grant funding from for the Alternative Financing Program through the U.S. Department of Education's Rehabilitation Services and Administration, and that took place 6 years ago. And we provide remote AT loan services, including when people call me, I provide them referrals, and hopefully we can find a grant or other source of funding to help a person purchase the assistive technology they may need. We provide referrals to providers that can help a person select the appropriate assistive technology that will meet their needs, and to look into other support services that will help that person to, for example, repair their assistive technology and or learn how to use their assistive technology. In the event we can't find a source of funding, maybe so that person can purchase that item in full with a grant, we are able to provide assistive technology loans, and we can coordinate with other funding sources so that the person can make that purchase timely. And we provide financial education in the communities of New Jersey and New York as well. And we have our AT resource guides for both New Jersey and New York residents posted at our website. And if you are participating today and you live in another state, there are about 40 of these alternative financing programs located nationally, and we have a list of all the programs available in the country. So our program here, we are able to provide loans from $500 to $30,000 at 6% interest or less for the purchase or refinance of assistive technology. So that means if someone purchased assistive technology and now they're finding that those loan payments are too expensive, maybe the interest rate is too high, that person can reach out to us and we can take a look at refinancing that loan so the person can keep that item that is meeting their needs and save themselves money. Lending terms with the program are very flexible, allowing people to develop or improve their credit with timely loan payment. So this loan program can serve individuals who have no credit history. If a person is paying all their creditors on time, that's the perfect candidate for one of these loans. And we know for many seniors, they struggle to keep a high credit score. So again, we can provide a loan if a person does not have a high credit score. So we can have dialogue around that. So NDI has partnered with Trade and Solid Rock Financial Incorporated to help you understand what assistive technology includes, what AT evaluations and services are available in the communities of New York and New Jersey, how you can try out assistive technology devices before purchasing, what assistive technology can be borrowed sometimes for an indefinite period of time, and what AT training is available in your communities as well, and what options for AT services and purchasing are available to help you obtain AT that best meets your needs. And like I said, this session is being recorded, and you can access this in the future. So I would like to introduce Melinda Dolezal, and she is the director of the Trade Program since October of 2018. She started her career at the New York State Justice Center, and she helps to provide intake services, gathering information on allegations of abuse and neglect. And her experience working with individuals with disabilities started over a decade ago. And she has worked at non-for-profit agencies in Buffalo, Oneonta, and the Capital District as a direct support staff, residential supervisor, self-directed broker, and Medicaid service coordinator. And now she has worked for the Trade Program. So we welcome you, Melinda, and thank you for offering this presentation for our participants today.
Thank you so much, Lori, and thank you everybody that's here today. I see a lot of familiar names in the participant window, so it's great to see a lot of trade people here. So I'm just going to go over, what trade is, how it works, and how people can utilize it. It's one of, I say all the time, one of the best kept secrets in New York, and truthfully, every state in the country and all the territories have AT programs. So there's actually 56 of us. So there is an AT program in New Jersey, if anybody is interested in that. And if you do have family or people that in other states that may benefit from the services that Trade offers, definitely either reach out to me or just do a quick search of AT in whatever state you happen to need it in. So again, I'm just going to give a quick overview of what Trade does and all the great work that the Trade centers do. So our goal is really to promote greater independence in the lives of people with disabilities of all ages by using assistive technology, or AT. And I'm sorry if I use a lot of acronyms. We live in an acronym-heavy world. The devices that we loan out and use in our services are for education, employment, and community living. So basically every aspect of an individual's life. And we do support individuals of all ages and disabilities across New York State in every county for every need. So if you go to the next slide. So kind of just to give you guys an overview of what kind of establishes us. We are created really by the federal grant for assistive technology from the Administration on Community Living. And this kind of creates the umbrella of what Trade does. And underneath that, we are very lucky to have funding from 3 state partners in New York. The first is early intervention, which is under the Department of Health. And these are devices that are really geared towards the little guys, children age birth to 3. And then after that, we also work with Access VR under the New York State Department of Education. So these are devices that are typically used for education and employment, typically ages 14 and up, but with, with clarification, we do have some wiggle room with that. And finally, we work with Money Follows the Person, which is again under the Department of Health. And these are devices and equipment really geared towards helping older New Yorkers stay out of nursing homes and stay independent in, wherever it is that they're currently living in. So just to give you a sense of kind of the areas that we specialize in, but really we do, we provide devices for, as I said, any need and any age. But it's important to know kind of what is assistive technology. And so it's kind of a very, very broad topic. It's any item, product, or piece of equipment that can be used to increase, maintain, or improve the functional capabilities of individuals with disabilities. So whenever somebody hears, AT or assistive technology, different things may pop into your head, but devices can be, either very low tech or very high tech. So sometimes people ask, what do they look like? The next couple of slides are really just kind of pictures of the kinds of things that we may have. Every trade center is different in the kinds of devices that they have in their inventory. So just some examples, we tend to have different types of, things like wheelchairs, rollators, canes, things to help people eat or to feed themselves, like liftware. Devices for little guys and for kiddos, sensory toys, communication devices, as I said. Some of these, because AT changes so often and is updated so often, some things may even be, out of date even within these pictures, but it's just a good example to see what's out there. In the next two slides as well, we have, again, things to, help with note-taking or reading things back. We have things like Echo smart pens. Again, in the next slide, it's very basic, but we have things like iPads, laptops, apps and software that people can use as well for, again, any kind of need or any kind of disability. So again, it just helps. So when people ask, like, what is AT or what is assistive technology? It's really all kinds of things. If you can imagine, it's probably a device that's been, created that can, work around whatever that need is. And so who can really utilize trade? Really, the quick answer is anybody. It doesn't matter if somebody is involved with something like the Office of People with Developmental Disabilities, like OPWDD. You don't have to be involved in a waiver program, although there is some equipment that does require specific referrals from, either a doctor or OT, PT. And really, we want to make sure that the device is what's going to work best for somebody and not cause more harm than good. And the disability can be short or long term. It could really be something, like somebody broke their leg and needs a knee walker, or they have a wheelchair and need help getting around their home and maybe need like a barrier, something like a ramp inside their house if there's barriers and doorways. But really, it's, it's a very broad, spectrum of things that we can provide individuals in need. And so just to kind of give you guys a sense of the services that we offer, how we define them is a little different than maybe people that come to our centers may, but just to give you a sense, there are 12 trade centers across New York. And this is kind of a very basic map of the regions that they cover. The arrows that are pointed to the different regions don't correspond exactly to where the trade centers are, but it just gives you a sense of the different counties that they cover. So some trade centers have kind of larger areas, but less counties. We tried, we try to have as much collaboration between them as possible. So it really, we try to keep the communication networks open. But again, no matter where you are in New York, there is a trade center that can assist you. And so the services that we offer kind of are, obviously geared towards the devices themselves, but I'm just going to go through a really quick rundown of what they are. So I think what we're known most for and kind of our bread and butter is device loans. And it's really just borrowing something for typically a predetermined amount of time to try it out, see if it's going to work for you. Maybe try it against something else to see, compare and contrast. And then just like a library, which is how I describe it, we want those devices to come back so that we can clean them, sanitize them, make sure that they're good to go out on another loan so that somebody else can borrow them. We also do device demonstrations, which is really kind of a compare and contrast, taking it for a test drive before you take it home. And with those, we really want people to have the most information possible before making a decision, because the worst thing, that could happen is, you end up purchasing a device, thinking that it's the perfect fit, and it's not. And then you may be stuck with it. And a lot of AT can be very expensive. So with device demonstrations, we really want people to have the most information that's going to help them make a good decision and a device that's going to work best for them. With everything going on with COVID, we've had to get kind of creative, and some centers have done very, very well with, either virtual demonstrations or doing things remote. So we'll try and work as best as we can with people. But again, with COVID, it's all about kind of overcoming it and doing, again, the best we can. Reutilization, sometimes in, certain circumstances, we are able to donate devices to people. It's not a guarantee, but depending on the device, it is a possibility. We also offer referral services. So if somebody needs something and it's something that's just kind of out of our scope, we may be able to refer them to resources in their community, be it waiver services, grassroots organizations or partner agencies. We do offer trainings depending on the topics that people request. Some things that we commonly get are, information for funding sources. How can people pay for assistive technology? And finally, things like public awareness. We do, prior to COVID, again, a lot of our trade staff were able to attend conferences, talk at different events and kind of bring awareness as to what trade is and, all of the things that we do. So next slide. And so this is kind of just like a walkthrough that was provided by our federal partners of like what it may look like if somebody comes to a trade center. And I do want to add a caveat. It says appointments are preferred, but some do accept walk-ins. At this time, again, due to COVID, we only have one center that is open to walk-ins. All of the others require notice ahead of time. But again, anybody, if you look up to the next bullet, anybody can contact a regional trade center and discuss their needs. So it could be the person borrowing the device. It could be a teacher, a parent, an adult child, really anybody can contact trade. So it really starts, if somebody reaches out, you go back just a second. Thank you. If somebody reaches out, has a question about assistive technology or what trade offers, it might lead to something like a device demonstration, having people compare and contrast. That can lead to a loan where people can borrow a device for a couple of weeks, see how it works, and then return it, or potentially borrow it for a little longer, depending on the demand for that device. And then we can provide some resources to help somebody be able to take that device home, either through financing it on their own or using other resources in the community. Oh, next slide. So why use trade? Again, we're the best kept thing that, in my opinion, we're the best kept secret in New York. So really, we provide, obviously device loans for people to see if something's going to work. But obviously things change a lot. People, need a short-term accommodation. Trade is great if you have a device that maybe needs to be repaired, something something's older and just needs a tune-up. Trade can provide typically devices while a person's own device is being repaired. The try it before you buy it. Again, we don't want people to have to purchase something that's not going to work for them. If there's an opportunity to, try it out, see all the features and really say, this is going to work great, or, this really isn't what I thought it was, let's try something else. Justification for insurance. A lot of times insurance companies will kind of, want documentation to say like, well, how do you know something is going to work? Or, how do we know that something, there aren't other options? So it's a great way to say we've tried it in these settings and we've had a lot of success. Trade services are free. And by that, I mean, our loans are free. We do have some trade centers that do fee for service, depending on what it is that's being requested of them. If people aren't sure, the local trade centers in their regions can provide more information on that. But as far as demonstrations, information and assistance, public awareness, those are free services. So again, anybody can reach out and request information. Next slide. And just some other information that is, typically like we get asked pretty frequently. People reach out to either myself or to the trade centers directly. We do get asked if devices can be purchased for people to own them permanently, and the answer is no. Again, just like a library, we purchase the devices to be able to be loaned to as many people as possible. With COVID, we a lot of our centers have what's called hub scrubs, which are these giant industrial dishwashers, for lack of a better word, that devices can be cleaned and sanitized in. If the centers don't have that, we do use other methods to make sure that devices are cleaned, or, if it's something like a laptop, that they're wiped of information. But again, if somebody has a request for a device, there may be a chance that we could purchase it for the inventory so the person can borrow it, but we don't purchase something for somebody to keep. Loans are typically for 60 days, but in some circumstances they can be extended. So if somebody, thinks that they may need something for a short period of time and it ends up being a little bit longer, they can reach out to the trade staff at the trade center that they've borrowed the device from and just see if something can be, taken out for a little bit longer. And we do accept donated equipment. So if somebody has something that maybe their child has grown out of, or they purchased something and they ended up not needing it, or even in circumstances which somebody may have passed away, we do accept certain equipment. Some things, just due to size, we aren't able to take in. But if people aren't sure, again, they're welcome to contact their local trade center. If it's something smaller and if it's still reusable, we either, possibly can take it in ourselves, or we can coordinate for somebody in the community to be able to acquire it permanently. So, next slide. And I always do a plug for our interagency partnership on assistive technology, or our IPAC Council. This is, again, our advisory council that provides consumer responsive, consumer driven advice to the Justice Center for planning of, implementation of, and evaluation of the activities carried out by trade. So we are required to have a council, but it's really a benefit to ourselves and our trade programs to have that feedback. So we recently met for our first council meeting in a little while, and we talked about a lot of topics that we can use to really strengthen trade and make it as responsive to the needs of the people of New York as much as possible. And one of the things that actually came up was financial knowledge and assistance for purchasing assistive technology devices. So it worked out great that Lori and I were able to connect. So if anybody is interested in joining, we are very happy to have new members and new input on a lot of different topics. So either, again, if you or somebody is interested, if you want to reach out to me, my contact should be on the next slide. So yeah, that's my my direct number there and my email. And the last thing I'll say that one of our trade staff mentioned to me this week that is or last week, that really has stuck with me is that, we provide a lot of services. We provide trainings for professionals and for, anybody that needs it. But what really matters is, and this, again, I'm going to quote, our staff, Jean Ronan, what really matters is that, people understand that not all devices work for, devices work differently for everybody. So it's one thing to know about a device. It's another to know that it's going to work for every person that is trying it. So we can work with people to find out the devices that will potentially make the best impact in their lives through, again, demonstrations, and then everything that comes after that. So that's what I have for trade. And thank you so much to everybody that's here, and I'm happy to answer any questions about the services we offer.
That's great, Melinda. Thank you very much. So as questions come to mind, just a reminder, you can post those in the Q&A box, and we'll be certain to answer those as we can before the close of today's session. And I'd like to move forward. This is Lori. I'd like to introduce Darius from Solid Rock Financial, Inc., who is going to share with us his services that are available across New York State and New Jersey. So Darius Petrocola is the owner, Chief Technical Officer of Solid Rock Incorporated. And Solid Rock is a premier comprehensive adaptive aid integration and training company offering evaluations, equipment, service trainings, and support to help empower the disabled community. Darius completed his Bachelor's of Science in Computer Science from the City University of New York College of Staten Island. And since that time, Darius has been fortunate enough to train blind and visually impaired, traumatic brain injured, and orthopedically challenged individuals in utilizing adaptive technology, helping them to become active participants in the workforce. And Darius has built his company and his career on the mantra, obstacles should inspire innovation. So, Darius, if you could share with us in your presentation how people can access your services and the different employment agencies that you work with here in New York State and New Jersey, that would be great.
Thanks, Lori. Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to be here. The picture that you see, if you're looking at slides, you see me as a child when I was on my laptop, and me later on. No, I'm kidding. I really wasn't. It's just a logo. But it does kind of capture what we've been doing for the past 40 years. We tend to think of technology as an extension of someone's self. I think the younger generation has caught on to that because you don't see someone under 25 who doesn't have a cell phone in their hand or on their person someplace. And technology has become an integral part of our lives. So what we've been doing, and I think we were just way ahead of our time because we started doing evaluations to determine the need for assistive or rehabilitation technology, what we're calling AT in this presentation, to exactly what Melinda was talking about. We want to mitigate the impact of someone's functional limitations. We want to help level the playing field so that someone who's going into a job, into a school, or even just wants to better their lives by using adaptive technology to have more fun. I mean, face it, using the internet, surfing the web, being able to communicate with the grandchildren through email is more fun than maybe picking up the phone or having to drive over to their house. There's just something about technology that in some ways can bring us together more. Of course, there are in other ways that can isolate us, as we've seen through the past year, how even with the technology, a lot of us still feel somewhat isolated. Next slide. So what does Solid Rock Financial do? We are a company that does access and technology evaluations. We determine how feasible it is for a consumer to achieve either their individual plan for employment or their, again, school, what they can do as far as recreation. So we've worked with New York Commission, New Jersey Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired. We work with Veterans Administration, Department of Defense, IRS, Social Security, FEMA, Access VR, and several others. I mean, over the 40 years we've worked with people who are individuals up through federal agencies. So we've had a really wide swath of the community, and that's taught us a whole lot about what things people can do and what they want to do and how to kind of get them from the want to the can. Next. So in a Solid Rock evaluation, what we would do is determine practically the use and ability of a consumer. If I'm having a conversation with someone who's visually impaired, for instance, I don't necessarily want to hear, what does the eye doctor say that your vision is? Because they're going to give me a bunch of numbers and say, well, it's 2200, or I'm have a restriction of fields, or this or that. I want to know practically, what is your vision? Can you read the headlines in the newspaper? Can you read maybe the front of the soup can, but not the back where the ingredients are? Where do you have your difficulty? So we're looking practically at a person for their abilities, and then we can find out from them what they are using to kind of help them with that ability. Do they have anything that they're doing now? Some people will look at devices that sounds good, and Melinda touched on this a little bit, that things can sound fabulous on paper, but when you actually try it, it doesn't do you as well as you might have thought. So we attempt to identify assistive devices and related services that can facilitate success in the area that the person is going for, either education, employment, or just simple enjoyment. Our evaluations include recommendations for specific types of technology with the particular specifications, and we'll give people several options. We'll talk to them about the cost to benefit of those options. We can also talk to them about agencies that may be able to help with them, and NDI and trade, New York Commission for the Blind, New Jersey Commission, Access VR. There are private funding. Lions clubs are a great place for people to get rehab, to pay for rehab equipment and so forth. So our evaluations, when a person is evaluated, we're shoulder to shoulder. So we're doing this remotely now. It's a lot of virtual type things, but we are arm in arm trying to give you a clear description of how the device or service can address a particular limitation in terms of either the training or the employment to enhance a person's life. What is the reason for this piece of equipment, and how am I going to use it? How much am I going to use it? Is it something that's once in a while, or is it something that's going to be, like as useful as my right hand? Next. So when we do a technology assessment, we want to do from low tech to high tech devices. We want to try to meet a person where they're comfortable. If a person is a school age youngster, they're going to have a whole different mindset as someone who's a senior who's lost some vision and now they need a little assistance to use their computer or their phone or tablet or something, because they're using it differently. So we determine the need for a computer or an electronic based system, both hardware and software, as well as the portable devices, because a lot of people they do have their own portable devices. Next. So we want to also look at the environmental assessments. There are things that people can do that are very, very small changes in their environment that can make a huge difference in their comfort level, their ability to carry out a particular task. Think about, and I'm thrilled that we've gone from incandescent lighting to LED lighting in a lot of ways for both people with visual impairments, younger and older. We had an 85-year-old woman the other day who was really, really down that they couldn't read their Bible. They just, for some reason, I no longer can see the print on the page. It gets blurry and so forth. And we mentioned to them a 5000K LED bulb, which is what LED companies call sunlight bulbs. She said it was like you gave me new eyes. Not only was that a wonderful feeling for us, but to give a person back the thing that they love with virtually no expense to them, because they're going to replace a light bulb anyway, just get this one instead of that one. And it was an instant change in their environment just by a lighting change. There's contrast changes that you can do. If someone's older and having a problem with reading the keyboard anymore because they hunt and peck type, there are large print keycaps, which are like $15, that now make the keyboard accessible again. There are augmented communications devices. There are all kinds of things that can change your environment. Someone who's got a hearing disability, if they you change the doorbell from a ring to a flashing light, it's those kinds of things that we look at in an environmental assessment. The next thing I've mentioned a couple of times, we call it a BYOT, or bring your own tech assessment. And that's where people already own a piece of equipment. It may be a magnifying glass that they just don't quite know how to use properly because it's not the right strength. And they try it and they go, well, but it doesn't really help. Well, maybe you need a stronger one. So they're bringing their own device, but might not be the right one. If they have a cell phone, and I know most people who are listening to the webinar today have a cell phone and have used the camera. And when you're using a camera, you can pinch the picture to zoom in on things. You know, how do I look in this picture, or what time is it on the clock, kind of thing. Well, we've talked to lots of seniors who use their cell phones, who take pictures, and I say to them, if you can't read something on a pill bottle, on a can of soup, or whatever it is, take the camera, take a picture, now squeeze, use your pinch to enlarge the picture. As long as it was in focus, now you have a handheld magnifying glass. If you look at the barrage of apps that are out there for cell phones and tablets, there are things that can augment your communications. There are things that can enlarge for you, like I just mentioned with the camera. There are things that can actually take a picture of a document and read it to you. And oftentimes these apps are either free or extremely low cost. So we want to give people the information where they can use the platform that they have already in their hand, that device that they're already using, to facilitate whatever it is that they need to do. Next. Next slide, Lori. Okay. The other things that we do are ADA compliance assessments, so that we would usually do this for a company or a school. Employers ask all the time, are we in compliance? Is there anything that we need to do to make reasonable accommodation for a person? We did this, I think our biggest task was when Superstorm Sandy came through New York and New Jersey. FEMA asked us to go to their 28 or 30 disaster recovery centers to help make them accessible to people with disabilities, because they didn't know. 2 steps makes a center inaccessible if there isn't a ramp somewhere. And so we were able to do those ADA compliance assessments for FEMA, but we do it for schools, even for people looking to purchase a home if they don't know how to check for a loved one, if they're buying it for someone. Next. So we always get asked, does Solid Rock do training? And in a word, yes, we do. We can do training remotely, which we've been doing for years. When the COVID shutdown happened, it wasn't, well, it was a little bit of a traumatic time for everybody. But as far as our company and our trainers went, we've been doing this for so long. There are so many devices, Zoom being just one of them, to help people with their computer. You can use Duo, you can use Zoom, you can use TeamViewer. There's so many programs out there that let you log onto someone's computer or connect to them with a video call. that we can do an evaluation and training. So we've done a lot of that training through the remote access. And in our opinion, what good is a great evaluation and a recommendation if you can't get the training to use the devices, which is one of the nice things about trade. You can try the device and get a little training on it and learn how to use it before you buy it. Next. So the question people ask also is, who does our training? We have trainers that have over 75 years of combined experience. Our consumers are encouraged to take notes in whatever form that suits them, and we check the notes for the correctness so that they can practice between training sessions, because it's not profitable for someone to try something between sessions incorrectly, because then I have to unlearn them of that, or there's just a level of frustration where they maybe want to cancel the next session. So we try to do training in as orderly a fashion with as much documentation so there's no misunderstanding, and it gives a person a place to go back to. Now, they may need those notes in print, they might need them in a recording, they might need them in a myriad of different ways, but the training that we do gives them what they need, what tools they need to be able to learn the process on their own. We're all familiar with if someone's hungry, you can give them a fish or you can teach them to fish. Well, we want to teach a person, how do you problem solve with the technology? How do you figure out how to get around this problem if you have one, so that you're not dependent on the trainer or feel like once the trainer is gone that you're out in the middle of the deep blue sea. So our support is, we will install all the hardware and software products. We can repair the products if necessary or get it facilitated. We can do upgrades to the product once you've had it, if it's a high-tech product and it can be changed. Sometimes it's just a matter of someone needs added memory, or they need some kind of update that happened in the software. Apps update all the time. So there's those kinds of things that we can do. And we don't really ever close a case on a customer. We have customers who have been with us for 25 or 30 years who call us periodically. I need to know about this, or I haven't used this feature in a long time, or can the device that I have do this, because I haven't done that before. I think I did it a long time ago. We are building relationships with people and have relationships with them for a long period at their whim if they want to call us. So we try to always keep very good notes of what we did with a person, so that we know what we covered. Even if it's a year later, we can go back and look at our notes. We do follow up with people. We want to make sure that if they're using high-tech equipment, that we can install antivirus or anti-spyware software. We want to, we have the ability to integrate new equipment with the existing infrastructure, which is really important with schools and employers. If a school is using Blackboard, or a university is using Blackboard, you want to be able to integrate the technology that a person's going to use with that. We always try to get the employers or the school's technical staff to get some proficiency in the information on what the person is using, so that there isn't this finger pointing going on. Well, it's your adaptive technology that's at problem, not our software, because sometimes it is your software. We want to do this in a collaborative way instead of a us and them kind of a way. Next. Lori, next slide. Thank you. So how long does it take Solid Rock to respond? We have a commitment for service to our customers. Our turnaround time's usually less than 48 hours. I say 48 hours so that we kind of give ourselves about 42 hours more than we need, because we really try to be as instant as possible. All of our customers have the ability to dial into my cell phone or their trainer's cell phone. We are able to get texts and emails and all the things that any other company does, but more than that, we respond, and we feel like we're the safety net for a person, so that if they need something, we want to respond to them as fast as possible. Next. How much does it cost to work with Solid Rock? Well, our first consultation phone call is free, and that may be a 15, 20 minute or an hour, just to kind of give the person a sense of who we are, what we can do, how we can help them, and the kinds of resources that we can point them at. And certainly if they are coming to us and saying, we need this or that, it might be the only call that they have with us, because we point them at an agency. If they're calling us to say, well, how do I pay for this, or how do I try this? There are agencies that they can call NDI, they can call trade. We can connect them with either Lori or Melinda and say, hey, if they can't assist you, or you need more help after you've spoken with them, call us back. After that, our rate is $150 an hour plus any equipment that we're going to purchase for them. Solid Rock will help facilitate the purchase of equipment. We can give a person a list of what we would recommend, and they can go out into the marketplace and get it themselves. Either way, we are completely transparent in how we do things, so that they know exactly how much it's going to cost. Next. Payment, we try to make as easy as possible. We used to only accept vouchers from agencies, but as we've gotten more and more into the residential space, we accept cash, we do credit cards. We'll take cryptocurrencies if you like, and pay us with Bitcoin. Since it's over 50K, that's, should have been doing that a lot further in the past, but we also can work out a payment plan. Generally, it's 5% interest. We usually ask for a third of the total cost of equipment up front. Next. Last thing I'd like to do is share some of our success stories. We have worked with, the first one I mentioned on the slide says the Friendly Skies. That was a program that we worked out years ago with Trans World Airlines, who hired in the first go around 6 people with visual impairments. And over the course of the time we worked with them, I think they got about 8 or 10 people total. And the ability of people who had a disability to utilize TWA's equipment and stand shoulder to shoulder with their customer service reps was a gratifying experience, because they were able to get off of Social Security disability. They were able to provide them for their own families. They were able to compete at 100% of the requirements for the job. TWA was one of the reluctant participants when we first started working with them, and at the end was one of the most gratified. They just were amazed at how well the project worked. When we went to them, they had 300 customer service reps, and they were hiring 100 new a year, because they were losing 1/3 of their people. And a lot of that was because of burnout. A lot of it was because a person would learn the systems at TWA and then become a travel agent, maybe go out on their own, that kind of thing. The people who were hired through the joint efforts that we had with TWA, worked there for a long while and moved up in the airline. It was a really nice thing to see. And some of them went to other airlines. We've also worked with Homeland Security, Veterans Administration, Social Security, IRS, the list goes on with federal agencies that we have worked with. But the Veterans Administration has been one that's been close to my heart because these men and women put their lives on the line. And the Bible says, no greater love has a man that he would lay down his life for his friends. And I take that very seriously. And I had said to many of my veterans, we are so grateful that we can serve your needs and help you get back to a place if they've lost vision or they've lost hearing or had an amputation or something from their service. We've helped them get back to as normal a life as what they call normal as we possibly could. We've worked with New York and New Jersey state agencies for a long time. New York Commission for the Blind, New Jersey Commission for the Blind they will pay for the equipment, they will pay for the training, but they're looking to give education. They want to get a person to be educated and then get a job so that the person can get off of whatever public assistance that their disability provides them. And so we've seen over the past 40 years a lot of people who've gone from high school to college, gotten their degree, and then out into the workforce and had quite a lot of success. And it's been very gratifying for us as well as the individual. And the last thing I'll talk about is we call them seniors who soar. They're people who maybe they fall into the cracks because they're not visually impaired enough to have Access VR or New York, New Jersey Commissions for the Blind work with them because they just don't have enough vision loss or enough. It sounds terrible to say they're not disabled enough, but that's kind of the way the agencies look at it. You have to kind of meet these criteria. So we work with a lot of seniors who just need a little bit of assistance, like the 85-year-old I mentioned, or someone whose grandchildren aren't accessible unless they're emailing or texting them. So now we've got to teach a senior how to do those things because they want to communicate with their grandchildren. What I'll leave you with is a low-tech success story with one of the seniors we had who they'd never used a closed circuit television, which is basically an electronic magnifier. Sort of the way you take a picture with your cell phone and can zoom it, this will enlarge a picture. And when we were showing them the device, they said, oh, I want to take a look at this picture. And it was their grandchild. And the person sat in front of this closed circuit TV in tears because they had never seen their grandchild because they lived far away and they only had pictures and they couldn't see the pictures. Those kinds of heartwarming stories are what we live with every day because we're able to help somebody go from not being able to do what they need to facilitate a fulfilled life to being able to have that life that they couldn't have without the technology. Next. Lori, next slide. So this is the information that you can connect with us. For more information, you can go to thesolidrockinc.com. And at the Solid Rock Inc., you can see the different services we provide. You can connect with me through my LinkedIn. It's just at Darius-Pietrocola on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to receive a call, email, questions, anything that we can assist with, we'd be happy to. Lori, I'm going to throw it back to you and say thank you to everyone listening.
Boy, thank you very much, Melinda and Darius. again, participants, as you have questions, if you could put those in the Q&A, and we'll be certain to ask those of our presenters. Melinda, if you could share, I understand that we have several assistive technology vendors on the line. They're curious what steps they take to offer their assistive technology as a demonstration device with trade.
Yeah, if vendors are interested, that's wonderful. Sometimes people will reach out to me directly, but and I should have said this in the presentation. So each of our 12 centers purchases their devices to add to their inventory based on kind of the needs of their region, because they're very knowledgeable about, where the needs are and where the demand is. So I would suggest reaching out directly to the trade staff. I can put a link to our website in the chat. So that way it's if you go to our website and you search by, specific counties, it'll pull up the trade center in that region. Our staff are very knowledgeable and very resourceful, and they would be the ones to move forward with things like that.
Great, thank you, Melinda. So to move on to our next slide, there are several options for purchase, and everyone touched upon that. So there are grants available in communities or related specifically to an individual's condition. And so we have an AT resource guide both for New Jersey residents and for New York State residents. And we invite you to take a look at that to explore those options. And, Trade and Solid Rock also offered that you could reach out to them. So I want to thank you for that opportunity. A person could save for the assistive technology they may need to purchase. Many individuals who have had a disability with an onset prior to age 26 may want to consider opening an ABLE account. Family and friends can contribute to that ABLE account, and that contribution made directly into an ABLE account is not countable income that will impact SSI, Medicaid, SNAP benefits, things of that nature. And you can learn more of that by going to the ABLE National Resource Center. So that's ablenrc.org. And then for those who receive SSI and or SSDI benefits, a person who is working or who is engaged in education towards employment, there are work supports available that can help that person to purchase assistive technology that will help them to complete that education and move forward with employment. So that's the PASS plan, and we have the link for the passonline.org posted here. And then there are impairment-related work expenses and blind-related work expenses. And to learn more about that, you can go to ssa.gov/SSI/spotlights/spot-work-expenses.htm. And of course, you can reach out to the National Disability Institute Assistive Technology Loan Program, and we'll provide referrals and resources to meet your needs. I have posted the link to our online application. You can print it out and then fax it in to us. And in terms of financial education, we have a spending plan orientation recording posted at our website, and that helps the family determine whether they can afford the assistive technology in addition to their regular monthly expenses. And we're hearing from service providers that they're using that in their service delivery with their customers and helping people to move forward in terms of affording their monthly expenses and purchasing assistive technology to help them move forward. So National Disability Institute has contracted with banks to provide affordable loans for the purchase of assistive technology. Lending terms are favorable and can help a person develop and or improve their credit. The interest rate for New Jersey residents is 4%, and the interest rate for New York residents is 6%. loans are made payable directly to the AT vendor. So a person, can select whatever modified vehicle they want. If they want to have their home made accessible, they, work with a contractor, and then when you're ready to move forward, you apply for the loan, and then the check is written out directly to that AT vendor once you assure us that everything is in place. NDI requires the completion of a spending plan as part of the loan application, and this helps to ensure that loan applicants have the income to afford their monthly expenses and repay the loan timely. And this is working out well because to date we have a 100% repayment rate, which means then we can lend more dollars out to other individuals who also need assistive technology. So if applying for a loan, please gather proof of all your income and be prepared to fax that with your loan application. And we'll need, for example, a photo ID, proof of any financial assistance you may be receiving, a retirement statement, for example, if your source of income is through a pension and or Social Security retirement benefits, an SSI, SSDI award letter, things of that nature. And if you want us to make it possible for you to make automatic payments from your checking account to your loan payment, provide a voided check, and that can be set up with our financial institutions. When people apply for a loan with us here at NDI, we pull the person's credit report. It's a soft pull, so it does not impact that person's credit score. But when the person receives that loan payment, that either develops a positive credit history for that individual who is paying that loan or helps to improve their credit score. So a loan applicant needs to be age 18 or older. There are no income guidelines other than, or disability requirement other than that the person can afford their monthly expenses in addition to the assistive technology. So if you're interested in knowing your credit score before you apply, of course, you can go to creditkarma.com. And if you find then that there are items that you feel you do not owe and you want to dispute that, Credit Karma provides guidance on how to do that. And again, NDI, through the Financial Resilience Center, has free financial counseling and coaching services available to help you move forward with any concerns you may see on your credit report as well. So what is the loan review process here? So we can pre-qualify loan applications, and we have a loan committee that is comprised of people who work within the field of disability. If you're interested in serving on that committee, you can apply with the link posted below. And so they look at a summary of people's information, and this really helps people, again, people who otherwise would not be eligible, for example, for conventional lending. These loan committee members understand that this device that the person needs a loan for could change their life around. So they, are very positive. And one person, we could see there was no way they could afford a loan. So one of the loan committee members reached out to the local vocational rehabilitation office, DVRS, and asked that they purchase that equipment to be able to lend out to individuals, and they made the request in addition to the local AT demonstration and lending program so that the device was available for people to borrow, again, indefinitely. So with our interest rates being low, I wanted to prepare this comparison chart. So if a person, for example, goes to an AT vendor, often the interest rate is not talked about, but we're seeing interest rates in the range of 16% to 30% for the purchase of assistive technology. So let's compare here. If someone wants to purchase assistive technology selling for $10,000 and the repayment term is 5 years, if a person goes to an AT vendor that's offering 16% interest, that person could end up paying $3,000 more than if they go to our AT loan program. And if a person puts the purchase on their credit card at 24% interest, it could be even more. So we urge you to take a look at our loan program, and we will work with you with favorable lending terms to help you purchase the assistive technology you need. Our turnaround process has been as short as 2 days' time. And we urge you, though, to take your time to reach out to Darius and to Melinda for their services to make sure that the assistive technology that you're selecting truly does meet your needs, and then we can move the process along rapidly to help you purchase the items that you need. So please give me a call following our presentation. My direct line is 202-449-9521. I look forward to speaking with you. Do we have any questions? If so, please put them in the Q&A box. And in our resource guide, we have a listing of all the trade offices in New York State. We also have a listing of all the AT demonstration and lending programs in the state of New Jersey in our AT resource guide. So I welcome you to take a look at AssistiveTechLoans.com, our website, to see previous presentations that are recorded and are available. And so how can we get a copy of the PowerPoint presentation? This will be posted probably within a week of today's presentation, and the recording will be made available as well. And again, for the spending plan development orientation, I welcome service providers to use that recording when providing services with your customers. And I thank you very much for participating today. Thank you very much, Melinda and Darius, for helping with today's presentation. Your information was so important to people. Thank you again. Have a good day, everyone.